Howdy. On today's episode of Between the Bears and the Bulls, we're joined by my friend Jon Suder. Jon is a high-profile attorney, a gifted pianist, and one of Fort Worth's most deeply connected community leaders. He's argued landmark cases, hosted world-class musicians in his home, and brings a unique blend of intellect and creativity to everything he does. We're going to talk about law, music, legacy, and what it means to be rooted in a place like Fort Worth. Thanks for being here and enjoy the show. Jon, thanks so much for joining Between the Bears and the Bulls. I'm pumped to have you here, man.
I'm excited to be here as well.
A high-powered attorney here in Fort Worth. You know, we're going to talk about a lot of fun stuff today, you know? Okay, tell me this. Did you always know that you wanted to be a lawyer?
No.
No?
I wanted to be the next Billy Joel.
Is that right?
So I was a music major at Tulane.
You're the piano man.
But I can't sing.
Oh.
And I wasn't, I guess, and I had some too much fun in New Orleans, and classical music, I was never that good like you were.
Oh, stop.
And I didn't have the discipline component, and I studied privately and discovered New Orleans music, blues, Professor Longhair, Alan Toussaint, and just, plus I just loved music history and music theory.
Yeah.
And it all, I still love it as much today. It's what brought us together.
No, without a doubt, man. We know each other through the Clyburn,
Yeah.
which we'll talk a little bit
And
more
the stars.
about. Yeah, and the stars, of course, which we'll definitely talk about. But okay, so tell me, because it's interesting, you go from music to law. How does that connect?
Well,
right?
Yes. Well, it goes from music to law to the type of law I'm doing.
Okay, yeah.
Which
Talk
now
about
that I'm 66 and I can look back on a 41-year career.
Wow.
As my wife says, you love it too much to stop, because everyone asks me, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? And I'm like, I don't know, but I love doing this. And I just got out of a trial. But when I look back on my career, I see how everything brought me to what I do today, because I represent, in the commercial sense and in the intellectual property world, I represent the small companies, the small inventors who are typically getting ripped off from the big companies, and the big companies hire the big firms, and you can't, little guys can't afford them, but we share the risk with them, and we work together. But the idea of representing people to protect their intellectual property really dates back to my days at Tulane and being a music major, and I incorporate that into my trials. In fact, my most recent closing argument 2 weeks ago in Chicago, I talked about my path and how I went from music to clerking for a federal judge, like the federal judge we were for, because most of my cases are in federal court, and talked to the law clerks and said I was that law clerk. And I tell the jury I was here for 2 years, and that's what brought me to Fort Worth, the great Eldon Mahon, who was my hero and mentor. And that's what got me to love litigation. And then I went to the big firm, got the honor and privilege of working for D. Kelly at Kelly Hart. Then I went on my own with my partner Walker Freeman and Mike Cook, and I went from D. Kelly to having the great Baird Friedman as my mentor. So I went from Judge Mahon to D. Kelly to Baird Friedman. So I have a nice history of different life lessons, but it all goes back to music. It really does.
That's so cool, man.
Because if you think about it, there are only 12 notes.
Right.
And you think about the world of music that has been created with those same 12 notes. And I incorporate that into my cases, because every big company that gets sued thinks, oh, what you did is nothing special. I've yet to have a company go, your client invented something really useful. We need to respect it and pay for it. Right. That's never happened, ever.
You don't hear that?
Never. But the point is, those people, as I just said in closing argument, would say that my client up in Chicago's technology was nothing new, but they'd say that a Mozart piano sonata was nothing new because it's only 12 notes.
Oh, I love that.
They would say that Paul McCartney's Yesterday was nothing new. It's only 12 notes. And so you think about it, I look back on my career and it's like, wow. And it was about 10 years ago that it hit me that I was on a path that I didn't appreciate until recently.
That's powerful. I mean, I guess I've never really thought about it that way, that there are only 12 notes. You think about the piano, right? I mean, there's 12 notes. Yes, there's 88 keys, but you're only
They
going to get
repeat.
the
There's
tone.
only
They
one
repeat.
scale.
Right, exactly.
And
So
some people say 8 keys. Like, I'm not entirely correct.
you're
It's
right.
12.
Exactly. You can't lose with that argument in court,
Well,
then,
it's
right?
true. It's true, and it's the same thing. Like grab a can of Coke.
Yeah,
There's only 4 ingredients. It's the greatest trade secret in the world.
without a doubt.
But according to defendants, there's nothing new. It's just sugar and this and that, food coloring. No, but intellectual property is what built. And I also wrap myself around the Constitution, because the history of the legal part, that's the music and the creativity and representing. And when I was studying privately in New Orleans, I'd hear these musicians tell me how they get ripped off. And it was like, no. Here's the college kid, Tulane. And I said, I don't know. But then I went to law school, and I was going to go to New York and do the corporate world. I got an opportunity to clerk for Eldon Mahon here. And I said, I'll move to Fort Worth for 2 years. And within 6 months, we knew we were never leaving. And I love it in Fort Worth. But the music and the law, and then Judge Mahon brought me to litigation, to the corporate side, to the more entrepreneurial side. And I just love partnering with invention, because that's what made America great.
How did you go from, so you said you planned to come here for 2 years, right, in
Yes.
Fort Worth, and now I'd like to affectionately consider you as like Mr. Fort Worth. You know everybody in Fort Worth,
old,
you know?
I'm old.
But how did you go from, and Fort Worth's a unique place, right? Because you didn't grow up here, right? And Fort Worth is very kind of tight-knit.
Well, yeah. I grew up in northern New Jersey. My dad, typical, New Yorkers that moved to New Jersey after World War II,
Right.
and set up that typical, and then business. And then my dad was in the sugar business, so I went down with him to New Orleans to look at Tulane. I thought I'd go to school on the East Coast, and I just said, it was 75 degrees in December, listening to music on Bourbon Street. I said, I want to be here. My dad said, I love it. And then I went to law school back east in D.C., thinking I'd stay back on the East Coast. And I did well in law school. I was on the Journal and all that stuff. And I applied to clerkships instead of the big firm. And I got some interviews in Texas. And I interviewed in Fort Worth. And Judge Mahon offered me a job for 2 years. And I said, I'll come down here for 2 years.
Yeah.
And go back to New York, go to D.C., because a clerkship, it's a unique opportunity. Go to San Francisco. And within 6 months, I said, I'm never leaving. And that's when Kelly Hart was just really taking off in the mid-'80s with the Bass family. You know, what Richard Rainwater, what they were doing.
Right.
I mean, you're in the Crescent headquarters. I mean, John Goff started there.
Right.
And I was exciting time to be there as a young associate on the law side. And I did that, made a partner, and then I went with Walker, and we started our own gig in '93, and here we are.
So it's interesting to kind of think about your path here, and I want to get to what you were talking about from a music perspective, because you were at Tulane, and you actually said you wanted to be Billy Joel. So is jazz more of your thing? Because we know each other through the Clyburn and classical, which I know you're a fan of classical music too. So
Yes and no. I'm not that good at improvising. Look, I sucked as a classical piano player as a kid. But my mother wouldn't let me quit.
Yeah.
And in like 10th grade, I picked up this new guy, Billy Joel, this new album called Piano Man. And Elton John had this thing called Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And I get the books. I go, this shit's easy.
Compared to classical
and the girls
music.
like it. And I'm like, whoa. I was this little skinny runt back then.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then I went to Tulane. I said, I'll take a music course, thinking I'd be an economics major. And I also have an economics degree.
Yeah.
But when I took music theory my freshman year, it opened up my world. And I worked so much harder in my music degree and learned more about analytical schooling. And I've said this my whole career. If you could take we said Mozart, a Mozart sonata, or anything, a Brahms symphony, or Beethoven, and you can follow from a music theory standpoint where they were going, or Bach,
Right.
and all the rules that he had, and the modulation and the keys, and you could get down to the voicing of that. That's a pretty cool analytical skill that you don't have in your typical poli-sci world. And again, I've always said, people go, you're a music major. I go, that has helped me more in life from an analytical standpoint. And plus, it's beautiful music.
No doubt.
I mean, I go to the symphony now like you, and I love the performances and I love the musicians, but I am blown away when I think that these composers wrote in the dark, no electricity, no Xerox machines. They weren't looking on their laptop. You know, ink pens. You know, and then had to hear it in their head. It just, to this day, I have even a greater and greater appreciation for what they've done.
Beethoven being deaf?
I know.
How is that possible, right?
It's unbelievable.
You hear about how Chopin would write pieces of music while he was going from one, place to another. So, like you said, in his head, and then he would basically write it down, and this is what he composed without even being in front of the piano.
And what was Chopin was he didn't make it to age 40.
No, he was 39.
Yeah, and Mozart didn't make it to age 40.
No.
Think what they would have done if they lived a full life like a Haydn or someone.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And Bach, he viewed himself as a carpenter.
It's crazy.
This was just like his job was to write this incredible music.
Yeah, amazing.
And I have lived my life's mission, and this is how we've talked about this through the Clyburn, is to get people that like music, that think classical music is boring. Mm-hmm. And I don't want them to go love it and go this, but I want to bring them and listen to it and go, wow, that was really something, and have that breakthrough moment. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I remember doing that back in college and saying, guys, I got to go to this concert. Just come with me, and I'll buy the first round drinks, And they loved it. It was like, the modern stuff, but listen to Schumann. And if I tell them, okay, we're going to go listen to this piece, and this is what you need to listen for,
right?
Because we're studying in class, so I had to go to the concert. And and I even do today, to have these breakthrough moments is my mission in life, is to be a flag bearer for classical music that's a dying art, especially in the United States.
That's awesome.
And when I see the Clyburn that we just went through, that it comes to Fort Worth, Texas, not lucky. Chicago or New York or San Francisco or even Dallas, but it comes to Fort Worth, Texas, is just insane.
We're spoiled. Without a doubt. Now, you may be a little bit of a composer yourself. Am I correct in that you're you may have written a fugue at some point? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that.
I was one and done.
So you were a one-hit wonder, or what?
Yeah. Opus 1, number 1.
Okay. Hey, when you're good, it's kind of like George Costanza, right? Yeah. You left out on top.
Yeah, I did.
Every meeting, I'm getting out at the highest point. So,
well, no. As a music major, my last semester, I had to take composition.
Yeah.
And I had to write a piece.
Yes.
So I researched this, and I wrote a fugue for string trio, but I wrote it to piano for 3 voices, and back then I could play it.
Right.
And by the way, I gave a copy of it to Christopher, so he's going to play it on his next show.
Exactly.
We'll bring a little keyboard in, and it was selected to be performed at the Tulane Spring concert of their orchestra.
You're kidding me.
So it was like Mozart, Suder, Beethoven.
I love it.
And the original recording is, no, the orchestra is not shrunk, but we have a special piece today. and the youth orchestra performed it about 20 years ago.
Here in Fort Worth.
Yeah. And
That's
John
cool.
Giordano, who's a dear friend of mine, was there, and he goes, it works.
The conductor.
Yeah.
Conductor.
Yeah,
exactly.
The senior.
Right.
And he goes, it works.
See?
And I'm like, yeah. So we'll find out.
There we go. Next time, we'll
so I dug it up, and I delivered a copy of it. It was copywritten in 1981.
I'm actually. I think I have to bring this out just to show that this is not made up. This is in fact Is this a copy of the official transcript?
Yeah.
Actually. Okay. Yeah.
Handwritten in pencil.
So yeah. Needless to say, this may take me a little bit to get to going, memorizing, or should I? No. Should it not?
No, yes, you man. I don't. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. So not only music has brought us together, there's another thing that kind of brought us together as good friends. Exactly. And what would that be?
Dallas.
That's exactly the stars, baby. That's right. So how in the world, I want to hear about how you go, attorney, law, music, and then you're also a huge sports fan and you loved hockey. How does that all go together?
Well, I grew up in northern New Jersey.
Okay.
We had tickets to the New York Rangers.
All right. Yes.
We had tickets to New York Knicks. My dad would take me to the Met games for my birthday with my friends. I grew up hating the Yankees because my dad was an old New York Giants fan.
Okay.
So I became a Boston Red Sox fan and now a Texas Rangers fan. But it was my dad who gave backstage opera tours at the Met for 30 years.
No way.
My dad was the most interesting person in the world. would give backstage tours, and I would bring clients up there. It was amazing.
Are you serious?
He loved it. He loved opera.
Because you said he was in the sugar business, right?
Commodities business.
Commodities
But
business.
he loved
Okay.
sports.
Okay.
And he loved opera. My mother was an artist.
Okay.
So that's the visual side.
Okay, so she was actually
yeah.
watercolors, paint.
What oils.
Oils.
Back
Okay.
then. Yeah, some watercolors, oils. Now it's acrylics.
Mm-hmm.
But and my dad loved opera, and he officed Midtown, and he would for 30 years would give backstage tours at the Met, and I'd go with him. Placido Domingo. My dad was your typical little guy. And Ike. Everyone loved Ike, and Placido would go Ike, and right in the middle of the tour they'd hug. He Beverly Sills. I grew up with all that stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Verdi was his hero. But he took me to. We loved the Rangers, and when I came down here, I started gravitating to the Stars, and I'd take my kids to it.
Yeah.
And they loved it.
It's a blast.
And it really is. And the Stars this year was fun.
That was a
and
blast.
Jacques, our mutual friend Jacques.
Absolutely, yes.
Plug to Jacques.
Yes.
We all love the Stars.
We had a blast.
And my one son who lives here wants us to reconnect with the Stars. It just gets hard, as you're about to find out when your daughter gets a little older.
I know.
That those Tuesday night games and Thursday night games, and it's just, night games are just tough.
Yeah, it is. It is tough. We started taking Kit when she was 6 months old, and I'm not kidding, John. This is a funny story. She was sleeping one night, and we wake up in the middle of the night, and all I'm hearing, and this was probably when she was 6 or 7 months old, and she had gone to her maybe second or third game. She was up. She yelled Dallas Stars, and maybe she was 8 or 9 months, enough to be able to kind of like murmur this out, and went right back to sleep. She's fully ingrained. She's obsessed with going to the games.
You know, on skates yet?
No, not yet. Daddy can't skate, so I don't know if she's going to be able to skate, but it's going to be it's a lot of fun.
When I grew up, though, we played street hockey.
Yeah.
You played basketball, and back then, not like today, whatever sports was going on in Major League.
Yeah.
You played that sport.
Right.
During football season,
Yeah.
you played touch football or tackle football in the backyard. Basketball in the middle of winter, you'd shovel the snow out of the driveway.
Yeah.
Play street hockey. Baseball, you played stickball. It was your typical northeastern way, and we had all those sports teams.
Yeah. This is the year. This coming year is the year. I know.
We thought this was the year.
We did. We keep saying this year after year, but we'll see.
A grind.
It'll be fun.
This is exciting this year.
Yeah. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit back to the law side of things. And so you've had some pretty legendary cases when it comes to. I'm thinking of one that I'll bring up with a pizza oven company. So
Renato.
So tell me how exactly that went down. And the reason I talk about it is because you're kind of known for throwing some good pizza parties at your. You're good for throwing parties. Let me just say that. But pizza parties in particular. Tell me about it.
A dear friend of mine who was one of the great trial lawyers in the patent world, Ray Nairo, passed away about 10 years ago. In fact, the case I tried in Chicago was with his son, Ray Nairo Jr. He brought me in March for this case. That was going on 9 years, and we just tried it and did very well. But anyway, Ray told me, because we were together somewhere in Colorado, that he has this case for a friend of his who makes pizzas in Dallas, Renato. Everyone has a Renato pizza, Renato Ricci. He had a patent, and he went to a big firm in Dallas, and he lost his patent in the case because the big firm thought they could do it on a contingency, and when they couldn't get a quick settlement, the company Woodstone got his patent invalidated. And he came to me pretty despondent. We looked at it, and we say, these lawyers screwed up. This should have never been invalidated. So we sued the law firm. And literally, on the morning of trial, I remember it very well because when they were bringing in the jury, I was in the cafeteria of the federal courthouse in Dallas, watching Obama get inaugurated as the first black president, with all the cleaning people there, crying, and it was a moment. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Watching on the TV, and then we went upstairs and we settled the case. And Renato said, we did well. He did well, and he says, I got to give you a pizza oven. And so he put one out by my pool, and then I had some extra stone from sitting in the back there, and we fit it in there, and it's been great. The kids loved it. It was growing up, You're right. For the Clyburn kickoff, always has a pizza party at my house.
Oh, it's a blast.
And of course, Renato has his name across the top. I didn't think about it, so I should put my name there. So
Oh, see that would have been good.
Yes.
So yeah, if there's a party and Jon Suder is throwing it, you know it's going to be an amazing party.
Well, the pizza is fun because when the kids were in high school and college, and they bring their friends over, they always wanted to come over and say, "Mr. Suder, would you cook pizzas for us?" And I go, "Of course." So it was an unintended consequence. So when my kids were growing up, I was able to have them there because most kids in college and high school is like, "Dad, beat it."
Yeah.
Or we're going out.
Right.
But they wanted to come there and wanted me part of it.
That's cool.
And it was so I wasn't in the middle of it. I wasn't in the pool with them.
Yeah.
But I'd be there delivering and watching, and it was a very wonderful, like I said, unintended benefit of
Super
having that
cool.
pizza oven.
All
So
right,
it has a special place for me.
Favorite pizza? Because I'm sure you've done some.
Probably just a good old fashioned marinara margarita with
Okay.
prosciutto.
Okay, there we go with prosciutto. Yeah.
Or Mexican pizza. You do tomatillo sauce,
Oh.
and Mexican cheese, and chorizo, and then afterwards
Ooh.
you cut up cilantro and avocado on top. That's a
Okay,
good one.
now that's unique.
Yes, that's a good-
I like that.
That's a good one. With a strawberry margarita.
Okay, well, of course.
The
of
pairing
course.
is critical.
Oh yeah, it's all about the pairing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So you brought up that particular moment. Are there other moments when you think about your, I mean, you said how many years in law?
41.
41?
Yeah, I graduated in 1984. So
41. 41 years. I'm sure there have been moments in the courtroom that you're like, man, that's something that's going to stick with me forever. What are some? Is there a moment? Are there a couple moments?
No.
What?
It's in a trial. You have to be the beauty and magic of trial. And unfortunately, my wife could not be at this trial because Cameron starts dental school and she was moving her to Fort Lauderdale to get settled. So she couldn't be there. And I said, it's okay. So she didn't live there. When you're in trial, there are these lightning in a bottle moments. And you don't know when they're going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you're doing well and having fun doing it, because some of the lawyers, they work so many hours and they're just miserable. No, but you got to be in the moment, and you have to be so ready that you have to react and catch those moments. And there's in every case, and the young guys in the office, they're like, oh, it's this or it's that, because my partner and I or my paralegal and secretary have each been with me over 26 years, so they've lived these. And so we use one word, this, and all the young guys like, okay, Riles, American, Lagrada. But if they've been there, it's those lightning in a bottle moments that happen. And it happened twice in Chicago. It's happened in all of my cases. I can tell you a moment that you cannot predict when it's going to happen. I liken it to an interview I saw with Barry Sanders like 20-something years ago when he did those amazing moves at Oklahoma State and then with the Lions. And they said, how do you know to do that? And he goes, I don't. When I see an opening, I bust through it, and I just got to be ready for when it's going to open. And I have lived by that. You gotta anticipate, and when that moment is there, bam.
I love
and when
that.
it works, and I can relate this, and I can tell you a story here, but it would be like whatever.
Yeah.
But if you were there and saw it, there's a bonding moment that you have with your clients and your trial team, and even the court personnel that were there. You have this connection that you will just never forget.
That's awesome. Well, do you live that way in all aspects of your life? Because that can apply not just to law, right?
I try to, but like I said, if I was good enough at piano, I could give you moments when it happened.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I can remember. I can tell when I went up on stage and played with a band, and it just. But I'm not that good, and I don't do it. But yeah, I try to. Like our stars moments.
Yeah,
when we were there for Game 7.
Right. Yes.
I mean, we will always have that.
Yep.
If we weren't there together, we could talk. It was a great game.
Right.
But being there.
100%.
And when we took Federico.
Yep.
I mean, it's you're right. Or or just Clyburn moments, or moments with the kids, or special trips I took with the kids. Like, for example, it was about 2012, I think.
Yeah.
Which I believe that was almost 13 years ago. I took my kids to Turkey over Christmas. We were supposed to go to Israel, and there was a bombing in Tel Aviv, and my daughter was uncomfortable, so we pivoted to Turkey because my father loved Istanbul, so I wanted to go. It's like a year after my dad died, so let's honor my dad and go to Turkey. And when we were there, I said, I want to go to Ephesus. People, I'm Jewish. People are surprised that I can talk about Ephesus and the Ephesians.
Yeah.
And we went to Mary's house, and we had a private guide, and it happened to be Christmas Day. Exactly. Exactly. And we didn't plan it.
Right.
I didn't go, we're going to go to Mary's house. And when we got there, we're like, oh my God, it's Christmas Day. We're in Ephesus. We walked around, which I highly recommend. There's a little city called Izmir of about 3 million people that you stay in.
Wow.
And we went there, and then we spent the afternoon at Mary's house. And it was really just us because in the summertime it's packed, they say. But it was Christmas Day, and we were the only ones there.
How cool is that?
Yeah, and it was just like, wow. And we literally walked the path how Paul escaped when he was getting stoned.
Wow. That's...
And I meant the biblical stoned.
Right. Exactly.
But no, you're right. But I do try to live life to the fullest, and that's why I think why you and I get along so well. Because you do too.
Well, it's a philosophy that I adopted, and it was right after college. Have you ever seen the movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Where it was like every opportunity or thing that comes up, you have to say yes, because so many people do like what you're talking about. You come up with an excuse.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm tired. I don't really want to do that. I didn't see that lightning in a bottle moment. Or it was, even if it was there, they see it, but they don't then do it, right? They don't move forward with it. So I kind of adopt this philosophy that it's like, what experiences am I missing if I don't say yes to opportunities that come up?
You're right.
You know?
And well, first of all, you're right, because there's never a good time.
Never a good time.
And two, I use this with my kids all the time and with my friends. You don't want to be 85 years old, sitting on in a rocking chair on your front porch and go, "I'm so glad I didn't do that."
Right.
You know,
Right.
Don't do that. You can't say no to you can't say yes to everything.
Right.
But you have to carpe diem. You have to seize the moment.
Without a doubt.
And it's like it's like anything else. I think this is what we have the music, but I think it's our view of life and being upbeat and exciting.
Yeah.
And people, my youngest, Ryan, who lives in Amsterdam, is so intuitive and insightful. And he has some tattoos, but they are so meaningful that I can't get mad at him.
Yeah.
And he put one on his thigh for me, and he thinks really hard. He has one to honor his sister, his brother. And the one he has for me is a crawfish playing a piano. Because he went to Tulane.
That's cool.
And we love music.
That's very
And we love cooking, and we love Jazz Fest.
Yes.
But his original one for me was a mop and bucket.
A mop and a bucket?
Yeah. And I share this story because I'm glad he did the crawfish and piano.
Right.
Because people won't get it. Because I tend to be fastidiously neat and organized, which I think you do. But look how he's dressed.
Yeah.
But he said, "Dad, you taught us that no matter whatever it is, you make it fun.
Oh, that's cool.
And so if you got a mop and a bucket, let's make it fun." And I mean, is there a nicer lesson your son can say about his father? And he doesn't have it. So I say to my wife, I say to Medea all the time, or whatever, and this and that, I say, "Honey, mop and bucket, mop and bucket, mop and bucket."
I love that.
And it was my son that did it. He didn't say, he just said, and then I said, "Oh, you can't put a mop and bucket. It's going to be so misconstrued."
Right,
He goes, "But I love the thought." And he goes, "You're right, Dad." And he did a crawfish, because he and I have an affinity for New Orleans like no one else. It's our second home.
Yeah.
And we love crawfish boils. We love cooking. All my kids love cooking. That's another passion we have. And piano.
That's
so New
awesome.
Orleans cooking. So so I'm sharing it because I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
What parent gets proud of their kid's tattoo?
I want to know, is the crawfish playing a fugue?
It's probably playing Professor Longhair.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. A fugue.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about the Clyburn, and it goes into this. You have been a supporter of the Clyburn for a long time, and you have hosted a number of contestants for competitions for a long time, right? When did you start doing this?
Actually,
and what does that mean to host?
I'm going to give a plug.
Yeah,
I was told this time that I now hold the record.
You hold the record
for most hosts.
There we go. That's it. That doesn't surprise me, John. You know,
I started in 2001. It was supposed to be 1997.
mm-hmm.
We were supposed to move into our new home, where we live now,
Right.
in May or April, and it wasn't ready to July, so we had to cancel.
Okay.
And what I would have been, 38? My kids would have been less than 10, but I wanted the experience, so I did it in 21, and it was a horrible experience, and I took off 25. But in 2009, I said, I'll do it, but I was a little older, a little more.
Right.
I don't know what the right word is. I
Yeah.
think it is, but I don't want to say it. And I said, I only want to do it, but I want an Italian. And I got Alessandro, and it was just like, it was heaven. And he cooked every day.
Yeah.
There's an article in the paper about it. Because we love cooking. My kids and I, we go on cooking trips. It's our family event.
Right.
It's our way to be together, and make it a whole experience. The music, and we talk about it as much as we do everything else. But Alessandro was just great, and I picked him up and everything else, and he learned to love Bruce Springsteen, so he calls me the boss.
You're the boss.
The boss.
You're the boss. You're the
And,
boss.
and Alex goes, Patrick, he goes, hey, boss. And then he came back in 2013.
Uh-huh.
In 2017, I said, gotta be an Italian. And I had Luigi Panamicia and his beautiful now wife, then girlfriend, who is a beautiful piano player in her own right, Natalie. She plays Schumann.
Amazing.
She is like a living Clara Barton.
That's awesome.
I mean, not Clara Barton, Clara Schumann. Clara Barton.
Right.
She's a living Clara Schumann. And Luigi is more like a Chopin.
That's so cool.
And I understand the difference, because I'll tell you, because I was in Italy having dinner with them with my middle one, Jason, and we were having dinner with them, and Jason's like, well, what kind of piano player? She was talking to Natalie. What kind of piano player? What music do you like?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that she might like jazz, Keith Jarrett, or someone, and she goes, well, Luigi's more like Chopin, and I fancy myself more like Schumann. And that went like right over Jason. And I knew exactly what she was saying.
Talking about.
And Jason's like, dude, they're all classical pianists. And it was a very funny moment. And then so I had Luigi in 2017. I had Federico in 2022 because of COVID, it got delayed.
Right.
And Freddie, and he came back this time.
Yes.
So that's great. So it's been now 6 times.
That's amazing.
And I think I got one more in me. I don't know.
Yeah. Something
So
tells me.
but you were on that path because you did one.
We did one.
Vlad.
We had an amazing
Vlad.
experience of Vlad. He was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then you took a year. You took one off like me.
Yes.
And now it's time to get back on the
Absolutely.
horse.
100%.
Get back on that horse.
100%.
And it's great for the kids.
It's I mean, that whole experience. I mean, seeing the 30 best pianists in the world come and compete here, and I mean, the amount of music that they have to know. I mean, as pianists,
and they've upped it. Jacques has taken it to a level. And unfortunately, you didn't know Van. Van was a dear friend.
Yeah.
And I've been to his house. He was at my house. He's played my piano.
Amazing.
He was the most gracious. Whatever accolades he's given are not exaggerated.
Mm-hmm. Such a special.
And he was right here. He's like our special little jewel, And my parents, your grandparents, remember Van like because he was a hero when he kicked Russia's ass at their own game at the height of the Cold War.
Right. Exactly. No doubt.
Got ticker tape parade, so that he's like
at Time Magazine, the whole deal.
And only kids in Fort Worth now know who Van is. The rest of he's kind of like that star is getting a little duller.
Right.
And it's sad because it's one of the reasons I stay involved, because I'm a keeper of that flame, and you are a keeper of that flame.
Without a doubt. I think the Clyburn competition is definitely doing that, because it's only continued to grow in popularity and awareness, and but just the humility, I think, is the other part of it.
That's a great word.
The humility.
And it lends itself to Fort Worth and why we love Fort Worth, where you are under the radar.
Right. Yeah.
You can go east 30 miles to be above the radar.
Right.
Get all the attention. We like being right here.
I love that.
And that's how Van was. And that's kind of how the Clyburn is. And it's so appreciated and recognized. And these contestants that I've got to know, or competitors, I
right?
say contestants, they play these competitions, and they're staying in old dingy dorms,
right,
or old hotels, getting bussed everywhere. And this is the only competition in the world that has host families,
which is so cool.
And it's just, and you have to embrace it. And I remember, when I was younger, I would tell judges and opposing counsels, and they would go, "Of course." I said, "I can't do this hearing. I need a continuance or this," and they were like, "Absolutely."
That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And Clyburn is just a unique. You just have a sense of pride to be associated with it.
So what are you going to do if, of the 30, there's not an Italian in the 30? Have you given another country that you're allowed to take as a host family? We've been lucky that there's always Italians, right? And so...
I'll have to cross that bridge.
I think we're probably
it's interesting. I was pretty proud of this moment. Jacques told me this time, and I don't know who it was, that someone that hosted last time said no. And when their person made it, they tried to say yes. And Jacques said, "No, we're not. It doesn't work that way." And he used me as an example because Freddie may not have made it,
right?
And I was already pot committed to host, and I would have been so bummed if he didn't make it, but he did.
He did. He's such a.
And we did. We took him to the Stars game.
That was awesome. That was a special
moment.
And
I bought him his jersey.
You did. You bought him a jersey.
You know what? Oh man!
We can show the picture of him in the jersey.
I know,
on
but
this podcast.
I should have brought it to you framed.
No, we'll do it. We'll show it on the podcast. It's probably showing right now.
And you can play the fugue in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I like this. All right, so let's kind of wrap this up and talk a little bit about your involvement here in Fort Worth, right? So, if you talk about your community involvement, because one of the things that you kind of touched on that I think is so important, and I think it's something that you really put a lot of effort into, which I think is incredible, is your involvement in the youth orchestra, right? Tell me about what you do so that young kids can maybe have that same passion.
Yeah, I'll do a plug for our youth orchestra.
Do it.
When I moved here, I got invited on the board, and I didn't know anything. I eventually grew up, and I was president of the board for like 3 years, from 93 to 96, and we did amazing things. We had it. I started this thing where they still do today. They give a concert at Cook's for whatever kids are in the hospital that day. They do a Christmas concert.
That's very cool.
And it used to be the Worthington. I don't know. And Roz Rosenthal, who was a dear friend of mine, supported it. And because of that, Medea and I started a program there where all the youth orchestra kids can now go to see their heroes play twice a year at the symphony. But there are almost 500 kids that go to youth orchestra here in the greater Fort Worth area. That is 500 kids that after school play in an orchestra, and it's not a convenient place at Orchestra Hall where it is, and their parents take them from north, south, east, west to here, and that's our future. So if you think about, I'm a flag bearer, these are kids that already know Mozart and Beethoven and the beauty and playing together and making beautiful music, and you got to nurture that. You can go to Ray's in the symphony, and we have such an amazing symphony. And it's just they struggle, but these are our future, not just musicians, but our audiences, and they get it. And so I'm a big believer in supporting them. And now they have a jazz band.
Oh, I don't know.
Yes, only like 2 years old, and they're unbelievable too.
That's cool.
They rival the Denton School jazz band.
Really?
They're not that quality, but they're very good. And there's a former jazz musician who was a naval officer that's retired that's here that conducts them.
Oh, that's
and they're amazing. Yeah, so it's kind of but there's just 500 kids.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, but I was on the youth orchestra board here in Fort Worth when I first moved to Fort Worth. So before I was even involved.
I was already off.
You must have just gotten off. I was on for 2 or 3 years before joining the Clyburn board, and so I think what you're doing there and supporting in the youth orchestra stride is awesome, just because it really is. I mean, the future of music, and especially classical music like that, if you can impact kids at that age.
And one last plug for them, it's unbelievable, and you already know this. Over the last 5 years, 100% of those kids go on to college.
That's amazing.
Not 98%, not 99%.
That's amazing.
100%. That shows you what being in an orchestra and giving these kids who may not be football studs or basketball studs the confidence of making friends and playing together, and that cerebral component, and they all go to college.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you think about everything we talked about, right? Your career, your family. I mean, there's so many different things. Your music side of things. What do you view as your greatest accomplishment?
That's a fair question. What I am always told that I find I'm most proud of is the passion I bring to something.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that.
And and when lawyers say you're this or you're that or whatever, it's the passion and the belief. Because if you're going to endorse something, and you want someone else to get on board with what you're, for lack of a better word, selling, you better be real. And you better have a belief in what you're doing. I've seen so many lawyers, for example, in court that are, they're just reading from a prepared, and they just don't have it. And, and it's okay to stumble and bumble if you're trying to get to the truth or get to the right answer. And I just bring that passion to music, not to practicing, because you'd think I would be good enough, but I don't. But to appreciating classical music, all music. Like, we haven't even talked about Bruce. I could talk to you for 2 hours about Bruce. I did meet him backstage.
Bruce Springsteen. You should. Did you meet him backstage?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, that's a great story. I will close on that one.
Yeah.
But no, but it's the passion, and I get that. I get the jurors afterwards. They just love. They go. We always. One time a juror once told me, we couldn't wait for you to stand up because we knew you were trying to get to us what we needed to make a right decision.
Oh, that's so good.
And I can't find a pen. I can't.
Right.
I'm not perfect. And the defendants all have to be perfect, and they pay for the. And I'm like, no, I slap it on an Elmo, and it's real.
Yeah.
And so I tell my kids, my daughter's a wonderful attorney. I said, be real.
Authentic.
That's a better word. That's even a better word.
That is you to the T. The authenticity. Honestly, I think that's what has kind of made us such good friends. Is that everything you do is kind of the way that I try to live life too. You do it with passion. You do anything you do is how you do anything is how you do everything.
I get in trouble for it.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
bored.
Yeah,
God, Suder won't shut up. But it's but I get away with it because it's from the heart.
It's from the heart, right?
And,
it's real.
And if it's real, that's it. But Bruce is real. My kids, I finally tell everyone, stop giving me Bruce swags, Bruce everything. I have autographs. I got beautiful framed everything.
Yeah.
But my two buddies, we've spent the last 40 years flying around the country, getting together. One lives in Milwaukee, one lives in Houston. These are my two dearest brothers from the other mothers.
Yeah.
And we would stay together by going to see Bruce
Springsteen. I mean,
and we have a friend. My friend Andy in Houston has a friend of ours that he's more friendly with, who lives in Erie, PA, whose daughter rode with Springsteen's daughter.
Really?
So they were friends, Marilyn. So when Bruce was on Broadway, we got 4 tickets on the lottery, and we said, who should we invite as our fourth? And we said, let's invite Marilyn, because we haven't seen her in years. On the off chance, maybe. So we go, and the 4 of us are sitting there, and then we start to get up when it's over, and Marilyn says, hold on a second. And the usher comes and says, wait. And everyone leaves and brings us backstage and says, oh, we're going to meet him in the green room. No, we go back to the Schubert Theater, I think that's where it was, up the old stairs to the tiny dressing room.
No.
And there is Patty Scialfa and Tom Hanks' wife. And I forgot what her name is. And she's an attractive lady. And we're like, all right, we know who you are, but we really don't know your name.
Right.
Anyway, it was Tom Hanks. They were there, and Marilyn hugs Patty, and Patty comes up to the theater. Bruce can't wait to meet you guys.
Stop it.
He's heard about your story and how you stayed together these years, and he's showering, so please wait. And he came up, and the 4 of us spoke for about an hour. Marilyn and Patty and what was her name?
No way.
And we did. We didn't talk about, oh, you were there and your music.
Right.
We were talking about our dads.
You're kidding
me. I was talking about growing up and going to the Jersey Shore when I was a kid, and my mom, and we talked about our dads. And Andy's kid was a Duke with Bruce's daughter, and it was just like 4 old men just shooting the shit on a park bench. And we had the nicest time. And then Patty goes, we all got to take pictures. and we all have pictures. Each of us with Bruce, the four of us. And then afterwards, we got a real sweet text from Patty, like, I love meeting you, and you really made Bruce's night.
Are you serious?
I'll show it to you next time you're at the house.
Oh, heck yeah, I gotta see that.
Bruce is
That's a special story.
that is.
I love it, man. You're a Mr. Fort Worth without a doubt, and not only that, you're just you're a great guy that has so much passion for so many things. So thank you for taking and saying yes, having that mentality to say yes to do this. You know?
I don't want to say I'm so glad I wasn't on Christopher's podcast.
Right.
But stay tuned for next time when you hear Opus 1, number 1 in G minor.
Jon, you're the man. Thanks, dude.
Thank you.